The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
All right. Let me pull up my xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk so I can get you guys get all the comments here. Hang on 1 second. Sorry, I guess I'm not as totally prepared as I should be. All right. I think we're ready to go. Let me check StreamYard. All right. Okay, so yeah, let's kick this off. I'm sure that we don't want to be wasting too much time here because you guys got a bunch of guests here and whatnot. So let's start with the Monero price. Basically, we've just kind of been hanging out at the lower part of sort of this like consolidation after the big movement, right? Where we got the 420. Weird how we keep getting to 420 and then everyone sells off or somebody sells off or something happens. I don't know. That seems too coincidental. That sort of happened twice now. We hit 420 on 420, I believe was it 2021? No, it was 2020. I think that we hit 420 on 420. And then, yeah, it happened again up here. So I don't know, maybe it's just like, it's like a shelling point for price. But yeah, let's drop into a smaller time frame here on the 1 hour and see what we can see. It's probably not going to show us much. Yeah, so basically prices looks like it's kind of got these downward pressures. You'll notice that the orange bands here, the lower standard deviations are basically sloping down and we're kind of just oscillating around that. That's actually not a common thing. I don't really see that too often, but we've got a little bit of price support here, right? So it, kind of like we talked about last week, things are going to be in a holding pattern for some period of time. We've reached some pretty big levels and to expect consolidation across the board, right? Not just Monero, but in general, everything. On the Bitcoin versus Monero price or Monero versus Bitcoin price,
hey,
it does look like.
Can you hear me for a sec?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. You mentioned we got to get back to talks, but if you can actually carry it to like 1 o'clock, that would be great. Because then
you want me to do a 50-minute price report, bro?
That's your usual. That's your norm.
No, that's not my norm. That's my norm when we start out and we chit chat and we ask what brand of coffee you're drinking on and stuff like that. But usually I keep it around 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. Do your thing.
Yeah.
We can have news pop up after. Awesome.
What's that?
We could have Tony jump up with the quick news after.
Yeah, hypothetically, if I'm in and out here in 20 minutes, I'm sure you could get Tony in here.
Yeah,
and
we'll do that. Awesome. No worries.
We'll see how it goes. If I run slightly longer, then maybe we'll just like take some questions and do some dubious speculation and a bunch of other stuff. Or if not, we can get Tony up
awesome, brother. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Alrighty. So, yeah, we've got, like I said, the XMR BTC price here. We're looking at what should be some kind of support. Normally, you would expect this to be a little bit of support there. Like I tell you guys, I don't really trade Monero. I know that my emotions get in the way. And also, in a lot of cases, I don't see the wave magic on Monero performing quite as good as I see it perform on other assets. I think there's probably reasons for that. Let me see. I feel like I'm hearing some kind of noise in the background. I don't know if that's someone without a mute on. Maybe it's just something happening in my head. But anyways, if anyone out there has not put their mute on fully, Doug, maybe check your mute. Okay, onward we go. Let's see here. Yeah, XMR versus gold hasn't really done anything. XMR versus ETH. I know a lot of you guys hate ETH, so let's celebrate our gains here against Ethereum for the past. I don't know. It's really been all year long, right? We bottomed here with the Binance delisting 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and then have basically been making a comeback and really even beating the wave magic levels pretty handily. And in a lot of ways, that makes sense. Ethereum has just not been performing. It's been getting crushed by Bitcoin. Pretty much all altcoins have been getting crushed by Bitcoin. So, yeah, definitely see Monero having potential here to continue performing versus Ethereum going into the future. Let's take a look now at some of the privacy shalt coins. Starting with Xano. Apparently, Xano had some kind of not hacked, but they had some kind of weakness where it wasn't as private as they thought it was, and then people were saying stuff, and Xano was like, no, I don't know if Xano, but some of the people that like Xano were like, no, that's FUD, it's not true. But it's like, yeah, okay, but of course you're going to say that. So it does look like, regardless of what the truth of the matter is, Xano has taken a hit here in the past week on that news. At this moment, it does look a little bit dubious to be making a recovery here. Probably looks like it's going to be going for those lower standard deviation areas. I know I said that I wouldn't tell you anything. I wouldn't be the reason my price moves for Xano, but at this point, I'm not the reason my price moved for Xano. It fell off of the news cycle, off of perhaps its own privacy weaknesses. I don't know. Maybe they'll have to come on and defend their coin from my vicious lies. Perhaps, I don't know. It's not a lie, bro, if you believe it. I don't know what to believe. All right, Firo doing nothing, consolidating. Pirate Chain doing nothing, consolidating. Again, we've talked about Pirate having like kind of these structural problems. What are you going to do? Probably Pirate Chain at some point is going to come down here and visit this guy. We won't get into the exact, we won't drop into the lower time frame, but probably expect something like that. Maybe some consolidation. I don't expect Pirate Chain really to perform. If by some miracle the liquidity just shows up into the macro, then okay, okay, maybe Pirate Chain can pump eventually, but probably only after the rest of crypto has pumped. All right, that's enough for Zcash. Yeah, Zcash kind of actually obeying the wave magic at the moment. You'll notice that it came up here, topped out at the top of the standard deviation bands. Very classic kind of action. You definitely expect that to be a resistance point. You don't necessarily know if it's got to go back down here, right? Maybe you could just do this and consolidate and do that, right? But it's Zcash we're talking about, right? Not the NASDAQ. So yeah, I wouldn't have expected too much from Zcash there other than to pull back. Let's go to Bitcoin. Actually, I was looking at BCH this morning because it is on one of the top performers for the altcoin. So you can see BCH in Lime over here, Bcash, showing everyone how price gains are done. And then I thought, well, let's look at it. Maybe it is really price performing. And the truth is not really. Like, it is doing a very long consolidation pattern, right? So for all the Bcash bros out there, I know there's probably a few of them at Porkfest, but we've got effectively lower highs, higher lows, right? So this thing is kind of doing this little bit of consolidation here, and maybe I would expect that to continue. It's very difficult for me to think that Bcash is just going to be like, right, going to the moon here. It's difficult to see that as a reality for the coin. But who knows? It's crypto; it can do whatever. Maybe someone decides it's time to pump Zcash, but Bcash, excuse me. But realistically speaking, we're probably looking at some kind of like capping action followed by continued consolidation on this coin. That would be the pattern, and I wouldn't expect that necessarily to break until some larger break happens. Bitcoin right now is actually, the price action starting to worry me. So we talked about, hey, we really, this level right here, this lower standard deviation level, that's important. This needs to get held. You kind of want to spend your time consolidating in between these levels here, not consolidating below it. That's not good price action. That doesn't actually spell very good things for Bitcoin price necessarily. At the same time, it's sometimes fuckery can happen over some concerted period of time. Some kind of washout maybe needs to happen before it can go up. That can happen. That can be the case, I suppose. I don't really, again, I still just don't like it because it's the same pattern over and over again. Slightly higher high, slightly higher high. Oh, look, this is the time we're going to break out to the, no, well, okay, I guess we better consolidate. Well, maybe it's going to fall. Like, it's so much fuckery, guys. Like, it feels like fuckery. Okay. Yeah, I'm speculating. Sure. Whatever. Everyone's got to speculate and think about, kind of their own market paradigm, if you will. But it's just, okay. I mean, like, this isn't terrible. Like, in the big scheme of things, you can see, hey, that's still just consolidation, but it is the same pattern, just repeatedly, just over and over and over again, right? You make a barely new all-time high, and then you bleed out for a long period of time, and then you make a slightly high. Well, in this case, actually, it was a significant higher high, but then it's the same thing. Previous bull markets haven't been like that. Previous bull markets have hit the levels, done some consolidation, and pumped, right? And then done some more consolidation, had some volatility, and then pumped again. And realistically, that's That's just not what's happening now. And it seems like this whole notion of, hey, let's set a slightly higher all-time high, and then use that as liquidity against plebs, right? Expecting to go even higher. Instead, they unload their bags, right? That seems like that started in 2021, and it seems like a pattern that hasn't stopped. So that's I guess unsurprising. Maybe in hindsight, maybe not something you would have predicted in advance, but that just seems to be the reality that we have to deal with here. All right, we're looking at total 3, but actually what I wanted to do is take a look at total, because it does seem to me that, you know, maybe there's a little bit of stealing from Bitcoin to pump some altcoins. Maybe the total crypto market cap is showing better signs. And in a way it is, right? In a way, we're showing that total actually has been making higher highs, not in a barely fashion, but, you know, in kind of a reasonable fashion. So for example, the higher high that was made from the 2021 bull market, that's 24%, right? So at the moment, the total crypto market cap definitely looks like it's showing just a little bit more strength here. So perhaps that's, you know, perhaps the Bitcoin woes at the moment aren't really a big problem, and the total crypto market cap is essentially just going to continue perhaps doing something like this. So that's kind of where I was like, you know, I was like, hey, this isn't good price action, but let me preface that by saying, yeah, but it's crypto and it can be scammy as fuck, right? It's markets. Actually, markets are just scammy as fuck, can be scammy. So yeah, I mean, I really don't like that things have broken down here below the lower standard deviation lines right there, and the upper standard deviation level support. That kind of implies the significant potential to come down to these levels right there and try and find some support again. Cue all of the degenerate maxi motherfuckers that will be like, they're just printing fake Bitcoin. Like, no, they're not, bro. No, they're not. They don't need to. They have a massive complex of exchanges and centralized supply. In fact, you should be happy that they've decided not to sell their bags faster than they do. And they've decided to keep Bitcoin hanging out here at 100,000. They're actually responsible whales, responsible bag holders, but they don't need to print Bitcoin to sell down the price. They just have to sell the massively centralized supply of Bitcoin that they have. That's the reality. Fuck you if you disagree. You're wrong. Sorry, that's just the truth. All right, let's move on to the macro here. So dollar index not doing anything too much. It seems like it still like wants to meander down here to this level. It could take its time. I don't care, whatever. But dollar index falling probably does indicate a little bit more continued support for the markets in general. As we talked about last week, oil has been oil has made a recovery, obviously, because of there's the whole war with Iran happening now and bombing going on, et cetera. And the question, you know, there's the worry that are they gonna put underwater sea mines in the Straits of Hormuz and shut down a significant portion of the Middle East oil shipping. It could happen. It seems like if they haven't done it yet, they're probably not going to do it unless things go to some really truly massive escalation, because if they do that, that's a straight one-way ticket to the entire West getting involved and the United States getting involved. And they probably don't want that. They probably want to limit what's going on as much as possible while still not appearing weak. It's crazy. You know, one thing interesting in Monero, we've got the Hitler Youth on the one side, and it does seem like we have the pro-Israel contingent on the other side. And so I kind of, you know, we had the argument with the Hitler Youth a month ago, and they're all salty, whatever. Some of them are all right. Like it's you know, they mean well. They just like, I notice the same patterns that they do. I just don't come to hardcore anti-Semitic conclusions. And you know, on the other side, like those that support Israel, like the Israeli government is literally a terrorist state. Like they've committed genocide, and they literally support terrorism and commit terrorism. So it's like, can we please just stop identifying ourselves with either Hitler or states like Israel, or even states like the government? You are not your government. Write that down. You are not your government. Okay, make that your mantra even. Okay, so yeah, oil is probably going to remain actually in this area for a period of time, which, believe it or not, does actually spell reasonable aid and assistance in supporting the stock market prices, at least for now. This whole macro crash thing we talked about, it's on hold for now. The trial for the Trump tariffs will happen in July. The markets are hopium. I think they've actually front run the hopium as much as they can. And at the moment, things are going to consolidate in the stock market, but we'll take a look at that in a second. Oil very likely is going to remain in this range right there. I don't see it breaking down again here anytime soon. Something else is going to have to shift with the macro. And I say that like, okay, listen, on a steady state course here, probably the oil price is going to stay in this area on a steady state course, right? the world seems to be like having some crazy shit going on. So if some new crazy shit just happens, right? Like, okay, well, if the war expands, if we go into World War III, not just proxy World War III, but actual World War III, right? That could have some effect on the markets, and everything I say could be like totally out the window. So just keep that context in mind. I would hope that all of you listeners out there by now would understand that. But if not, I also can understand why you might not understand that, because how are you going to keep up with all of it all the time? It changes so fast, especially my opinions on the market. Let's see here. I think we have an XMR chat. I'll wait a second to see if that ends up getting put on the big screen. Hang on a second. Let me do a little thing so I can monitor that. Okay. Yeah. So if that XMR chat ends up hitting the big screen, Doug, let me know, and then I'll read it out. Otherwise, we'll continue on here. Okay, or we'll just wait till the end of the price report to do it. Okay, so stock markets are consolidating, just kind of like we talked about. They hit the big area that you would expect them to hit. So again, we talk about these standard deviations. They are magic. I call it wave magic. It is pure magic. I made magic. That right there was the spot, right? That was where we talked about. That's exactly where you expect to need some consolidation on the price. It's the stock market, so this thing can consolidate and then go higher, right? You have to adjust your bias, which is like, chart interpretation requires understanding the market you're looking at. And so it's not just pure statistical levels. You have to interpret what those mean in the context of how the chart behaves. And then you get into actual wizardry and people telling you that you're just making shit up. Everything is made up, bro. So NASDAQ is consolidating, S&P also doing the same thing, consolidating here at exactly the levels we kind of expected. So I would, I said upward bias last week, but maybe not, right? Like maybe it's just consolidation here. At least for Bitcoin at the moment, there is some danger of breaking down that didn't seem to exist. A minor breakdown. I'm not talking like, back to 60K or something. But there is a potential for some breakdown there to happen. So stocks also consolidating. I would be less worried about stocks, honestly. You've got the defense sectors now giddy with the anticipation of getting more federal money, not just federal money, but even more federal money. NVIDIA is not a bubble. We talked about this like literally a year ago. Look, NVIDIA is not a bubble. It's a defense stock now, guys. And this vertical line here is when I said NVIDIA is not a bubble, and I took much flack for it, but overall have proven to be right. Just because something goes up exponentially doesn't mean it's a bubble. Get that idea out of your head. It's a heuristic, but you have to understand the difference between heuristics and actual, like, the hardcore reasons, for stuff. When it comes to code and like blockchains and all the stuff, and I look at a lot of heuristics, right? Because that's a lot of code in cryptography that I don't understand to go review. So I can only look at it in heuristics. But in doing so, I always stop and say, yeah, that's just a heuristic, but I could be wrong. That's not real, true knowledge. It's just a way of approximating knowledge. And so you can do the same thing in markets, right? The heuristic is when something pumps exponentially, it's a bubble, right? But that's, again, it's not always true. And understanding the underlying reasons why NVIDIA wasn't a bubble was important there. Yet I digress. Maybe not necessary to NVIDIA rant at the moment, but oh well. We had some inflation numbers that popped out last 2 weeks ago, actually. You can see nothing's changed. Doesn't matter. Inflation is basically back to where they want it. Maybe slightly hot, but really, like, the only thing that's hot is the core inflation. But it's like it's not even hot. It's just kind of warm, right? It's not even really hot. So the Federal Reserve had a meeting last week, and they left rates unchanged. Jay Powell decided to keep everything as it is. He says, "Listen, if things go south, if the world goes to shit, and we have another." Whatever happens, we've got sufficiently restrictive monetary policy that we can tighten policy as necessary to support unemployment or support employment and meet the target inflation goals. Blah blah blah. Basically, you always have to translate out of the lawyer speak. But he basically says, listen, don't worry, if shit crashes, we can drop the rates and we can print more money and we can expand the balance sheet. So chill out, you'll fearful cult out there. I was looking at the rates though this morning and saying to myself, what's interesting? From the moment that we broke down until today, it's been about 38 bars, right? That's 38 weeks. I say broke down, but we didn't really break down, right? They just, they flat topped. It's the same thing. You can see it, the exact same pattern over and over again. There's got to be a fundamental reason for it, right? Like this isn't just happens to be like how things are running. They do this on purpose. So Anyway, so the market marches up, you get a flat top, it comes down, and then you get a financial crisis. And then that happened in 2008. Rates are rising into a rising market, you flat top, and then rates start crashing, and then, or they start dropping the rates, and then you get a financial crisis. Same thing that happened in the dot-com. What is interesting that I was looking at this morning is that it's actually been 38 weeks from that moment. And if you look at the last time, right, the C word, that took about 29 weeks, 28 weeks maybe, until the economy caught that cold, and then they had to drop the rates. And then if you look at it over here from the 2008 crisis, between the actual like acute crisis was about 56 bars, right? So we are still in this window. Like just not like, okay, the financial macro crash, it's on hold for now, guys. Like don't trouble yourselves, don't worry your pretty little head about us crashing into the macro crash tomorrow. I'm not saying it can't happen. Anything can happen, obviously. I'm just saying that for the moment, it looks like things are on hold. Markets want to go up. They want to go higher. They want to believe the Trump tariffs will get struck down in July. So there's a good chance that markets just sort of hang on here. Maybe with some volatility, maybe Bitcoin has to revisit some lower levels, and we have to suffer the people talking about the paper Bitcoin that doesn't exist when the real paper was Monero all along. No, the real paper against the price was Monero all along. So anyways, if we measure what we said, was that 58 bars? Let's go back here and measure this again. Yeah, 58, 60 bars. Yeah, that's about right. So if we measure, let's just say 60 bars right into the future here. That would put us at November, right? October, November. Right. And we have the classic, global financial crisis that always seems to happen in the fall for some reason. Although it happened in March of the last time, but that was also because they invented a disease or whatever. But in this case, we are still in that danger zone, guys. Like, don't think that we have left the danger zone yet. Just, put it on hold for a moment. But yeah, don't expect much from price, guys. Like there's nothing exciting that's going to happen with price that I can see like on hardly any chart at this moment, whether it's stocks, crypto, I don't know, bonds. maybe you could find some Forex trades. Oops, I've had that open the entire time there. Yeah, maybe. So anyways, Monero hash rate actually is taking a little bit tick to the top side, which is nice. So maybe this is consolidating here at 5 gigas, and then we'll soon go to even higher gigas than that, like 6 to 10 to 20, 100, etc. The Monero transactions are still hanging on just above 20K. All right. That's where we are with the transactions. That has been about a 20-minute price report, Mr. Doug. We have a super chat if you want to come back on, Doug, and you can get Tony on the news, and I think you guys could squeeze that in. I honestly don't have that much more to say here about price. I would struggle to fill 30 more minutes without just going on long rants. I think Doug might have disappeared, and I think I might have to go on some long rants. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get the XMR chat that SLGO tipped 4 cents. He asks, what is a good margin rate percentage to invest in crypto for it to be worth it? A good margin rate percentage. Bro, I don't even know what you mean by that. Usually when you're talking about margin, yeah, there's the chat. Usually when you're talking about margin percentage, you're talking about buying on leverage, right? Or buying a futures contract. So usually those interest rates should match something pretty close to the, to the Federal Reserve interest rate, to the overnight lending rate. It should match overall what rates look like in general, right? What bond rates look like in general. Probably, obviously, it's going to be a little bit higher than that because, they're going to take their pound of flesh if you're going to try and leverage trade on margin. But yeah, honestly, man, I'm not totally sure. Yeah, I'm not totally sure. Just buy the coin. Just buy the coin and put it in your pocket, in your wallet, in your digital pocket, and be happy, right? Like, there's no need to complicate it any further than that. Just get on the market, go to PorkFest, find some bros who want to sell you Monero, and call it a day. Write down your seed phrase, right? Put it in your mama's house. Other than that, yeah, I don't think we have any other super chats, any other chats here. So, Doug, if you wanna come back on and do the news with Tony, I think I'm all finished here. Cue the Jeopardy song. Nope. All right.
Hey, sorry, I'm gonna try to get a hold of him. Just bear with me.
I can't. He just didn't believe me. I told him I could be in and
I
out.
know. I hear you. Let me. I'll hold on one second.
Well, that's fine. I can pull up some other stuff, and you know, we can look at some other things.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I'll just be here chit chatting to the audience whenever whenever you guys want to come back.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll
so
try to get a hold of Doug because I told Tony he'll do it 3 because I don't want to cut him short. So
oh,
let
okay,
me go
yeah.
get Doug. Yeah, because we have Ross coming on at
I mean,
1.
hell, he could even get another guest on stage if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So give me like a few minutes and I'll try to get a hold of him. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so we're looking here at Minotari. They've had quite the fallout. Let's go to a shorter time frame, maybe 7 days. Maybe this is the time to stack some bags if you wanted to pay some of those Tari miners, or AKA the Monero miners. But yeah, Tari really like it came out strong, and then it's sort of fallen off here, and it's kind of fallen off with the hash rate. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Maybe someone I don't know. Whatever. Let's see. I was also looking at that whole cubic thing. Let me grab a couple links here and drop them. All right, so we go to some mining pool stats, and let's see if we can find cubic. Cubic is currently number 35. It says 0 hash rate. I don't think that's right because I pulled this up earlier and it was like maybe 180 or 200. And if we go to their website, they tell us right now they say that they're running 345 mega hashes. Okay. Earlier this had changed, like this was like 200 earlier, so I guess it just kind of oscillates. They don't do like a moving average, or if they do, it's a very short span moving average. Yeah, okay, so I mean, they're what is that, less than 10%? Sure. So far not a problem. I actually did try to follow their links here, and they said something about like doing real compute for real stuff, and then they were just terribly non-specific about everything. Like they had some sort of like mapping about how they send like requests to, or people send requests to do work, and then you like find some hashes, and I don't. Honestly, none of it made that much sense to me. They weren't specific about anything. It didn't really inspire confidence that they have anything that anything's going on there. So, anyways, if we come back to the mining, right now it looks like P2Pool is doing about 200 mega hashes. Yeah, I mean that's not very high. That's like, if I'm doing the math right, that looks to me about 5%. So is P2Pool back down to 5%? And does that have anything to do with the hash rate, right? With the hash rate that had gone up here significantly. Maybe this was all P2Pool effectively, and then came back down again. Maybe some of the problems with Tari and the merge mining implementation. You know, I mean, it's like when you had so much of a pre-mine, maybe people are like, well, it's so heavily pre-mined. Do I really want to spend all my time mining it? You know, am I really that excited about it now? You know, and maybe that was a bit of a design flaw, honestly. I understand why they did it, but heavy pre-mines are just not my bag, guys. Like personally, they're just not my bag. And sure, I'm glad to see that a private smart contracts platform has hit the scene, but and it does seem like they put a lot of thought and a lot of work into it. And for a moment there, it seemed like our hash rate was going up as a result. But now it's like, how much has that contributed to the hash rate, right? Maybe that's contributed about 10% to the hash rate overall over the past, let's just say, month. But I haven't seen it like overall. This doesn't look like it has significantly contributed to the hash rate. 10%. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's significant, but you know, it hasn't taken our hash rate, you know, and kept us here at 6 gigas and, you know, continuing to go on up. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we just got to wait and see on that one. I think it's interesting. We still have support XMR sitting here at like 40% of the hash rate. So that's all right. I guess that is what it is. You know, what are you going to do? I don't understand why there aren't more botnets mining on P2Pool. So all of you botnet listeners out there, please, you know, switch over to P2Pool. Obviously they're not. You know, for all we know, it's the Fed boys running botnets mining Monero so that they can sell it on the open market. You know, like that's actually, you know, so the one thing that Cubic brought up that I do think was interesting, a topic that they brought up, not because of Cubic necessarily, but the notion that, you know, they're just going to mine with the intention of selling all of their mining, everything that they mine on the open market to suppress Monero's price. I think that's reasonable. I think like that's a genuine attack vector into Monero's price. And I think it's something that we've seen. My assumption is that's how Binance ultimately covered their shortfall over the course of many years. They made some kind of scumbag deal with It's crap. It escapes me now. The mining pool that shut down their own. You couldn't withdraw in Monero. NiceHash. They probably made some deal with NiceHash. They probably made some deal with other miners. They probably like have some underground deals with Fed boys, and maybe the hash rate is partially Fed boys out there, and they help Binance cover some consortium of nefarious scumbags. Probably, decided, hey, let's spend the money to mine, and we'll just consider that a business cost that we have to pay for suppressing Monero visibility during the major bull market of 2021. And then and then trying to keep the price suppressed. So it's very, very possible, guys, that we are dealing with like true like price suppression in ways that go beyond just fractional reserve, right? In fact, that at the moment, I wouldn't look at fractional reserve as the major component against price suppression. I think that ran its course, and I think they had to pay for that the long term by mining slowly, and then slowly meeting their withdrawals until they could just remove it from the exchange. And then obviously removing from the exchanges was its own price hit, right? It was its own method of trying to suppress the price. And maybe they've got a couple more up their sleeve, but the biggest ones are gone now, right? Like Binance is gone. So yeah, I mean, we hear all the complaints from the Bitcoiners about fractional reserve Bitcoin, and it's like, no, that's not how that's going. And to elaborate on that even a little bit more, the simple fact is that half the original coins are lost, right? The old OG straight up, I mined them on my CPU, on my laptop, I mined them on my GPU. Those coins, half of them are gone. They're lost. They're never coming back. And then what happened is the ASICs came out, and those guys knew how to not lose their coins, and they massively centralized the supply. They started ASIC mining, in 2013, I believe it was. And effectively there was only one player for the longest time, and it's Bitmain. It's all Bitmain. It's always been Bitmain. Even now, 80% of the pools have shown that they are basically just a Bitmain template, right? So the supply of Bitcoin is heavily centralized, and they have done a very good job of not dumping their bags too much on the market and deciding at the moments to support price. And they've done that hand in hand since 2017 with big finance bros and a growing consortium of big finance bros. Starting with Jamie Dimon, right? That was the 2017 top. Yes, they began the tether mechanism as well to pump the price, to leverage price up. That was one of the ways they got the price up, and then they just dumped their bags at the top. But they always try and set supports on the price. But the point is that the ASIC consortium, really the ASIC oligopoly, that was the impetus for the creation of the massive exchange complex that we see now, and they are a very tight-knit, narrow group. At least where all the liquidity lives, right? We're talking Coinbase, we're talking all these other guys. Was it Bitmain that started Coinbase? No, but there's a consortium of people that started these exchanges so that they could unload these massive bags, and that they could do things like price manipulations to try and maximize their yield here. So they don't need to print paper Bitcoin. They're good for it. There's, sure, there's buying happening on the stock market, right? And all the BlackRock and Valkyrie and all the other guys doing the ETFs. But there's absolutely more than enough Bitcoin to unload, and that's what's happening. They're unloading those bags onto the stock market now, onto the newest plebs, right? Basically the boomers that are now see Bitcoin as safe. So, anyways, I think I hear Doug.
Buddy.
Hey, I think I hear you guys now.
Oh yeah,
I'm just not seeing you on the screen here. So
yeah, no, I'm hold on one second. So what we're gonna do, like when you're done, doing your thing.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, poor guy's like he's talking. If you want, so we're just gonna have my screen just showing, and just the banner on the bottom, just letting people know if they want to stay tuned. At 1:00, we'll be streaming Ross Ulbricht's live talk. So that's what I'm just gonna do right now with the banner on the bottom and music in the background. We'll be back on in 20 minutes. Unless Doug is unable to come on and talk because he's working on his presentation, which is at 2 p.m. So there's a lot going on. Okay. So if you're done,
I'm here.
I'm sorry?
I'm here.
Who's here?
I wanted to ask you a thing, Body, about the...
Oh, sure. Go for it. Sorry. Body, you have a question.
Yeah, but our mic was muted and whatever. And I was interested in did we see PorcFest in the transactions, in the amount of transactions, going up maybe during the week of PorcFest?
No, we haven't. At least it doesn't look like it. So hypothetically, I'd say Sunita could pull the put my charts up again,
Sorry.
but that's fine.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just no, it's fine. I could just speak about it. Yeah, we were at 24,000 transactions per day on June 16th. So I guess that would have been on like Thursday maybe. And then we've kind of been slowly dropping off. And currently, yesterday we had, it looks like, about 20,000 transactions. And currently, really, yeah, about 21,000 transactions. And today we're sitting here at about
that's interesting.
20,000.6. So yeah, it hasn't really jumped up with PorkFest.
Oh, okay. Because that's what I would have like expected to a certain degree. Because like you can like buy anything with Monero here, and it's like the most used besides cash. But I guess it's still not enough to really like make a difference. So I was wondering like where are then like it seems like Monero gets like used all around the world to a certain degree, because if PorkFest doesn't make a noticeable difference, then it's quite a lot, it seems like.
Yeah, I would agree. You've got
It's the viewers on.
you've got a lot of people buying.
Sorry.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you've got a lot of people buying like gift cards, and a lot of people just moving money. A lot of people making trades, trying to chain hop for privacy, stuff like that. So I guess we just have to assume that's more of the bulk of what's happening there than PorkFest. I mean, how many people would you say are at PorkFest? Like maybe 2,000, 3,000? Is that about right?
Yeah, probably maybe 2,000. I don't have any numbers yet. But I like 2 years ago it was 3,300, but from that was a Kennedy year, and from there on it was like slowly declining again. It's like cycles with PorkFest visitors. So I don't know, maybe 2K or something. Like in maybe a week I can give better numbers or something.
So if we think, okay, maybe like, maybe 20% are kids. So maybe there's like 1,800 people there. Maybe, half the transactions are being done for either cash or maybe like gold backs or something. Maybe there's some barter going on. So maybe, maybe only like 500 people a day are doing a Monero transaction at PorkFest, beyond what they would have done in a normal day. So maybe like 500, or maybe PorkFest accounts for, say, 500 or 1,000 Monero transactions per day as a total, complete wag, right? Just a complete estimate. But yeah, so maybe there's a small effect happening there.
Yeah. And about Tauri, like the 10% hash rate increase. I would guess, like, as you can't really like do much with Tauri yet, it might pick up like when they actually have like a use case and it like the project itself gets bigger and more relevant. Then we might see a steeper increase in like hash rate, because like Monero has an increase in price and in like popularity, and then also now Tauri is like adding to it, and then maybe DarkFi down the line as well. So like the increase in hash rate might, like on a longer time scale, increase as those projects maybe hopefully increase their value overall, like not on a price sense, but just in popularity and what you can do with it, or like use cases.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's, if you release a contracts platform that has no contracts, it's like, well, why is the reason that anyone's going to go use it at the particular moment? So yeah, maybe there's still some development that needs to be done, some things that need to be hammered out, and that makes sense. Perhaps in the future they can get they can get their crypto kitties or or something like that going, or who knows, even stablecoins or some algorithmic attempt at a stablecoin. And some different stuff, right? So once they can have at least some small kind of ecosystem on there, perhaps they can generate some kind of attention and volume and usage that naturally then drives up the hash rate just out of the natural dynamics of the market. I hope so. I really would like to see that, and especially I would like to see DarkFi 100%.
Yeah, DarkFi like sounds like more interesting to me, to be honest. But I mean, they are also like, that's a bonus. Like they are fully merge mined with Monero, so I don't know.
It does sound, yeah, exactly. Fully merge mine with Monero, no pre-mine, or if it's a pre-mine, it's something really small, like 3% or 5%. I can never remember if they even have a pre-mine planned. But it does look like they're also developing inherent use cases. Like, so they have a messaging app that goes along with DarkFi. So they're developing a messaging app, and it sounds like it seems like they're probably going to have, like, they're going to launch with at least a few contracts already built. So hopefully, like one of the things that often, once you develop an underlying protocol, you need a template. Like Ethereum needed its ERC20, right? And that's kind of like, you need not just the protocol, but you need a standard for how to use the protocol in a way that's like, I don't know, proper, canonical, or whatever, kind of technical words you want to insert there. But, usually you want some kind of standard that people can copy. It makes it easier for people to create something that's not just like totally off the wall or out to lunch. And like sort of gives a natural ability to start growing that ecosystem. So yeah, I have much higher hopes for DarkFi, honestly, than Tari. Not that I don't appreciate, Rick doing what he can to contribute to the Monero mining ecosystem.
Yeah, true. By the way, did you already like answered the question from Elias? That like, he was like typing in the private chat that he has a question for you, Body. Does the Monero hash rate seem to follow the price at all, or not? Hash rate should follow price if miners are rational? Question mark.
I don't think I've seen it follow the price. That would actually be a good analysis to. Maybe we could maybe let me pull this to a separate window. And no, that's not going to work because I don't have. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I haven't ever really looked at it. Let me just give it a quick anecdotal look for the past. Let's just go 3 years, and then we'll go back to the Monero price. What are we on the 1 hour? Let's go to the daily. Let's clear the wave magic. So over here on the hash rate, that's July 2022. So over here, let's scroll this to July of 2022. It's right about there. Make sure one more check. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Now that you mention it, that actually does look like it has maybe a little bit of correlation there. Maybe it's not a lot, but it does seem to have something there. So yeah, probably a real statistical analysis would be in order, but it anecdotally, just with your eyeballs, kind of looks that way.
I think for the moment it's good enough.
Yeah. Without trying to Elias. Okay, yeah, so I didn't see that one. Yeah. Actually, usually I put that one at the top. Yeah, thanks for jumping on, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
Good, solid questions.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah.
Anything else?
I think that was on my mind. We have like 10 more minutes.
You got any rants? You
no
got
worries.
any
I mean,
rants,
like I said, you guys want to keep talking?
Has to know?
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's up?
Sorry,
do you have any rants? Do you have anything that the audience like just absolutely should know?
Oh, on top of my head, I don't want to shit on any project.
Okay.
But like a thing that came up a few times here in like some discussions I had with like there are some very like OG Bitcoiners here, and I have like big respect for some of them because they are like very into like the privacy aspect of Bitcoin, and they like know what they are doing, mostly by peer-to-peer and so on and so forth. But just like I don't know, even on the libertarians, I feel like it's not like our the people that came before us, the generations, they like literally like went to wars and fought for their freedom, and today they are like if you I don't know need to like use Monero instead of like a more transparent chain and to not like appeal to the like state and its regulations, like that's even like too hot for a lot of people. And I feel like it's like a little I don't know, like you have to like risk Monero not being like completely private, and can you like that it can you protect you 100% from the state, or like is completely untraceable, but just like a little bit of risk to like bring forward this like goal of getting back the monetary system from the elites back into our hands. So that's like something that all like had rubbed me the wrong way a few times here. So I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
You mean like as in people are just kind of willing to sacrifice some of those core values in order just like for the number to make the gains effectively?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not willing to risk going into Monero.
Yeah, exactly. Like they are like want maximum fiat gains. I mean, if you like compare, I don't know, like a 10-year or a 5-year horizon with like Monero and Bitcoin, like if I bought, I don't know, 10 years ago, Bitcoin versus Monero, the gain is quite similar, but like for the last bit of gains, you probably should have like bought Bitcoin. But I'm like, okay, I'm willing to trade a little bit of fiat gains for like privacy and real, like the real crypto cypherpunk ethos. I would love to see that from more people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something we dealt with for sure for like the past really 4 years now. You have the so many of the laser eyes, their entire argument just centers around, well, we're the biggest, so we're always going to be the biggest, and so we're going to have the most price gains as a result. So there's no reason to be anything else. And also it's amazing money. It's like everything that they said might kind of be true, except for that last part. It's like that doesn't mean that it actually works super, super good for its intended purpose. And yeah, they've got some improvements, but now they have a bunch of JPEGs on chain, and they're kind of like their community starting to be divided about what they're going to do to actually improve scaling, because their primary scaling plan didn't work out. And there's a few like delusional holdouts that want to pretend like it's still working, but it's not. Like Lightning Network just isn't working.
On that note, like one vendor, actually, like Daniel, he was earlier on the talk on the live stream. He told me last year he had put up a Lightning node, so he could accept Lightning as well, and that mostly worked. But like he tried then to get the setup for this year, and he couldn't like fix his Lightning setup. And then at some point he was like, okay, I don't want to really deal with this anymore. I'm only accepting like Bitcoin on chain instead of also Lightning. And that's like, okay, I mean, we are trying to like use and build like a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Like the Bitcoin network doesn't really, I don't know, it's not really helping the people easily to fix that. And I have onboarded like a few vendors here which have no technical knowledge, and I just like show them Cake Wallet, write down the seed phrase, give them like a little like rundown of everything, and they are good to go. And I know if they use like Monero, like I told them to, like only buy from people or from like Havino, they're gonna be mostly safe. And with like Bitcoin, it's like, oh well.
Yeah, you have to like it's this weird debate. Should you buy your Bitcoin privately and anonymously, or should you buy it on Coinbase? If you buy it on Coinbase, at least you have clean coins. And but then you can't do what you want with your coin, because sometimes they see what you do and then they're like, that's naughty user, you're not allowed to buy anything on the dark web or mix your coins, etc. But if you buy private coins, for all you know, they were just recycled from some hack, and now you're in possession of effectively stolen, it's not property, but the law has actually been very murky on whether or not it is or is not property, and whether it technically is legally not fungible. And so yeah, then you end up in the situation like, well, should I use my dirty coins or my questionable coins, or should I use my clean coins? And never the twain shall meet. It's like, just the fact to even ask that question is retarded. Imagine, like, you can't explain that to a normie. Normies don't understand that, or they do, but they don't understand what to do with that. Like, what do you tell me? Just tell me what to do, bro. Like, well, I don't know. You've got to make sure that you keep your UTXOs all separated. And it's like, oh my god, like it's impossible.
Yeah, it's just a hassle. Even like for techie people. I mean, I could probably do it and use Bitcoin somewhat safely or anonymously, but it's such a hassle. Like with Monero, it's very easy if you like stick to the core values, and then you're good to go basically. And I mean, in 6 months, it's going to be hopefully even better. So,
it's funny. What really got me, I wouldn't say all in on Monero, but back in the day when I was like first learning about privacy and Monero and the protocol and Bitcoin and comparing and doing all the learning about Tor and Hunix and all this other stuff, what really got me into Monero, like more than anything, was gaming out UTXOs, gaming out my privacy, gaming out ways that linkages could be made between my various addresses, and like change addresses, etc. on Bitcoin. Thinking about, okay, well, I hopped into Monero, then I'll hop out of Monero, and just gaming it all out over the course of, say, a year or two, every time I needed to spend, and then being like, dude, there's no way. I can't protect my privacy on Bitcoin. It's too complex. There's too many like little edge cases that I didn't think of. There's too many times that like this UTXO that I spent here, and now I want to send it to this other entity, but I don't want that entity to be able to, or chain analysis to associate those two things together. So now I have to like move some other sum of money from some other UTXO, and I don't remember which UTXO it was. Okay, now let me just grab from my Monero stack, and I was like, well, that's too much. That's retarded. Like, let me just move everything into Monero, and when I need to spend Bitcoin, I'll just come out of Monero and into Bitcoin to do that spend. But it's too difficult to try and keep things like to have your private Bitcoin stack and then prevent linkages from happening between different spend patterns, across time. That's really like, that's how I personally ended up just mostly in Monero. I was like, I can't protect my privacy in Bitcoin. There's no way. I know I'm going to fuck this up.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe one last anecdote from here. I talked to the guys doing the Satoshi movie, and like Satoshi's like core values or like idea is like very much the cypherpunk idea, I feel like. And
100%.
yeah, and they are having like a Kickstarter where you can like donate in dollars, but you can also donate Bitcoin, of course. And I talked them into accepting Monero. So hey, we can
Nice.
fund the Satoshi movie with Monero, and we could even like I like an idea I had, just buy, because if you donate enough, you can get like a cameo in the film. And just have like Doug with like a Monero-chan figurine walking around, a Monero hat or something. Just a little like foreshadowing or something. Yeah, maybe you could, I don't know. I hope the movie becomes good. I mean, from what they showed, the teaser, it's already out.
What's the buy-in price for a cameo?
I have no idea. Might be, I don't know, $1,000 or something.
Oh, that's not too bad. We could maybe group fund that or something.